Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is James. I'm the creator of the Raven of the Scythe fantasy role-playing game. And first things first, I would very much like to apologize for the long hiatus that happened between my last video and now. Life is just really weird, but if my content was something that you enjoyed and looked forward to, I am sincerely sorry about that. But back now and hopefully in a position to make this a more regular thing. Haven't worked out an exact upload schedule or anything yet. Just wanted to kind of get back in the swing of things and make some videos talking about fantasy role-playing games and my game, Raven of the Scythe. So I thought one of the best ways to get back into things would be with building some characters. Character creation is a big part of any tabletop RPG, Raven of the Scythe being no exception. And I think that character creation is one of the aspects of the game that I'm most proud of, as far as the speed that you can make a character and the versatility, like the variety of characters that you can make with the system. So, with that being said, just wanted to give a couple of example characters to kind of show off what the system can do. I'm not going to go incredibly in-depth, but I wanted to maybe create some pretty basic characters that you might find in a group of starting adventurers. So I'm not necessarily trying to min-max or do anything to break the system, just make some well-rounded characters to fill different roles. And the first role I wanted to make a character for is the tank role, because tanks are important. They're a big part of any combat encounter. I don't want to say required, but it is always nice to have a good strong tank in front who can take hits and shrug off damage while protecting the rest of the party. So we're going to make a tank. We're going to make John the Tank. Just generic name I came up with. And John the Tank, for his attributes in Raven of the Scythe, there are 6 attributes that determine your character's basic abilities. Those being agility, might, mind, perception, stamina, and willpower. And with John the Tank, I went with a might score of 1. So that puts him just above average in might. Remember, 0 is the basic human average in this system. So he has a might score of 1. He has a stamina score of 2 because I really wanted to lean into his ability to take damage more so than other characters and hopefully his enemies, so he can be a good tank. And then I went with a 1 in willpower, which again makes him just above average with that. There's a few different ways you could go about making a tank, and by no means is this the only tank build you could come up with, but it's what I went with this one, so hopefully it'll work out. For his compiled scores, he has a guard score of 10 because he has nothing in agility. He has a movement score of 5, again because he has nothing in agility. An initiative score of +0 because he has nothing in perception. His hit points are well above average though because of his relatively high stamina score, giving him 24 hit points right out of the gate. And he has a determination score of 4. Or rather, he has a maximum number of determination points of 4. So, with his skills, I picked the 3 skills that are based off might because I figured that would be where he's going to be the strongest at, and I didn't want to... Like I said, I wasn't trying to min-max or anything, but I didn't want to like cripple him or do anything like that. Like, I just want him to be a good fighter who's good at fighting. And with these 3 skills being based off of might, I thought that played into that. So he has athletics, fighting, and menace, all with a training score of 2. And since they're all based on might, he has a proficiency of +3 in all of those. With his favors, this is where I decided to use the customization option to give him an additional favor starting out. So instead of the 2 regular favors that a character gets, he started out with 3. And for his favors, I chose Axes and Bludgeons, Hammering Blow, so that way he can do more damage with a bludgeoning weapon. I'm deciding to give this guy a Warhammer because it has a good damage output, but more importantly for this build, it allows him to penetrate armor better. Then he has Combat Surge that will let him recover a point of determination whenever he makes a critical hit on a melee attack. And that also plays into his next favor, which is Endurance, which brings his maximum hit points up to 28 and lets him recover hit points by spending determination as a standard action instead of an extended action. So my idea with this character is that he has a high number of hit points and he can heal himself relatively consistently. So he can take damage but not be put down by it. Like I said, I gave him a Warhammer, and with Hammering Blows, that gives him a +1 damage with the weapons from the bludgeoning group. So his Warhammer does 1d10 +2 damage. Remember, he has a 1 in might, so that's where the +2 comes from. +1 from might, +1 from Hammering Blow. On a critical hit, it does 1d12 +2, and it has the bashing trait as well as being two-handed. So my idea with John is he can deliver a fair amount of damage ignoring armor for the most part, and he can take quite a bit of damage by himself, but he also has an additional point of determination that he got from his willpower score, as well as the combat surge ability that lets him recover determination points, so he doesn't necessarily have to be incredibly careful about how he spends it. So that was my idea for John the Tank. The next character I wanted to make was hopefully someone who could adventure with John the Tank. I made Chris the Rogue. And a rogue build is a lot different from a tank build, obviously, because they're filling a different role in the party. Not just in combat, but like in general as far as what they can accomplish. With Chris the Rogue, I put 2 points in agility, 1 point in perception, and 1 point in stamina. So, starting out, Chris has a guard score of 12, a movement score of 7, and an initiative score of +1. And 20 hit points because of their score of 1 in stamina, but they only have 3 points of determination. So already we're seeing places where John was better than Chris in certain areas, and Chris is better than John in other areas. Oh, also, I gave John a leather jerkin for armor. It's not the best armor in the game, but unlike every other type of armor, it doesn't impose penalties on his guard and movement score and stuff like that, and I decided that was more important than trying to boost the damage resistance of the armor. As this character, as John grows, I planned on giving him more hit points and leaning into that than necessarily the armor. But anyway, we're not talking about John anymore, talking about Chris. Has 3 determination points. So then when I got down to his skills, though, I decided to use the Jack of all trades customization option for his skills. So rather than starting with 3 skills, Chris gets to start with 5 skills. And he has a lot more broader range than John does. So since he got to pick 5 skills, with him I picked acrobatics, which plays off of his agility, archery, which lets him make ranged attacks, fighting, which makes him not defenseless up close, and then he also has stealth and thievery, which are probably the two most important skills that any type of thief or rogue type character can have. Um, and all of them ended up with pretty good proficiency scores. Like acrobatics has +4, archery has +3, fighting is the weakest +2, and then stealth and thievery both have +4. So this character is well rounded, but definitely excels in the areas that he excels in, if that makes sense. So then for favors, I picked archery bow proficiency. Since his highest combat score is archery, I decided to lean into that. So he was able to ignore the accuracy penalty that comes with bows. And then I gave him agile defense, which, among a couple of other things, as long as he's wearing no or light armor, increases his guard score by 2, which brings his guard score up to 14. And then for his weapons, I gave him a short sword and a long bow, once again leaning more into the ranged attacks than the melee, but he's not defenseless in melee, he's just significantly better at range. And then he had a few coins left over, so I also gave him a leather jerkin for just all of the same reasons that I did with John. And these are the two characters that I came up with. If I was going to run a game and these two players, or these two characters showed up at my table, then I would be fine with it. I think that they would have a pretty decent time doing most adventures. There's still some, like, holes, if it, obviously with just two characters, but I think these two together could work pretty well. They complement each other. Like, John could tank while Chris stood in the back and, like, did more archery stuff. But Chris would also be able to come up and do things like search for traps, sneak around, do things like that, using his stealth and thievery skills. So, these two characters by themselves are a pretty good group so far, I think. But I would like to continue this, maybe make some more characters to add to this party that we have going on here. But I will stop there with these two and come back to the rest at another time. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's good to be back. If you haven't already, you can check out Raven of the Scythe. It's the game I created. It's available at drivethrurpg.com. And there's a free starter set available that gives you the complete rules for character creation, so you can make your own tanks and rogues and wizards and whatever else you want to make, as well as some starting characters if you just want to jump right in. And it comes with a short little adventure module called Adventures in Midshire. I also have a Patreon page that I just set up. Don't really know too much about Patreon. I've never done this before, so just kind of trying to figure it out as I go. But I do have a few things up there right now. I'm going to include the character sheets, at least the front pages, for John and Chris, so you can see exactly what I did here. And also, if you do choose to support me on Patreon, the lowest tier it let me create was for $1 a month. So, with that, you should get access to, like, playtest material and stuff that I haven't really figured out what to do with, or, like, things I'm still working on. Right now, there's an expanded weapons and armor up there. Like, basically, it was weapons and equipment and stuff that I didn't really have a place for in the core rule book whenever I wrote it. But, or for, like, one reason or another, like, these weapons just got left out. So, those are up now. I'm working on trying to figure out, I have a couple of ideas about what I want to do with them, but I want to make sure I get these weapons balanced with the rest of the game. So, that's something that you can look at if you do choose to support me. If not, totally cool. I appreciate you just hanging out and watching videos with me. Other than that, yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. It's good to be back. I hope you enjoyed this channel. I hope you do check out my game, and if you have any questions about it, please let me know, either in the comments or on Patreon, anywhere really. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. My name is Ben James, and I will talk to you later.